What if attraction wasn't just random? What if you could actually engineer it? Today, we're diving into a pretty fascinating and, let's be honest, ethically complicated topic, a psychological system designed to create obsession.
Just picture this for a second. There's someone out there, and the first thing they do when they wake up is check for a message from you. They get this jolt of anxiety when you're not around. Their mind is just completely occupied by you.
So, is that just a happy accident, a random spark, or could it actually be the result of a deliberate system? Well, the source material we're breaking down today argues that, yeah, it is very much a system.
And that's exactly what we're going to explore. We're going to walk through 7 specific psychological techniques, methods that are essentially designed to hijack the brain's reward system and create that exact kind of obsession.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to start with the foundations. These first few techniques are all about building that initial, powerful presence, the kind that people just find themselves drawn to without really knowing why.
First up is something called intermittent reinforcement. And what's wild is that this is the exact same principle that makes slot machines so addictive. Think about it. It's not winning every time that gets people hooked. It's the unpredictability of the win. That constant uncertainty is what creates a powerful, compelling loop in our brains.
So, how does this play out in real life? Well, one day you might be showering someone with attention and affection. The very next, you pull back and become completely distant. This kind of inconsistency puts their brain on high alert, constantly making them wonder, which version of them am I going to get today? They start chasing that feeling of your approval.
Next up, we have the scarcity principle. This is just a fundamental rule of human nature, right? We all want what we can't easily have. And that doesn't just apply to things like limited edition sneakers, it absolutely applies to people.
And applying this is pretty straightforward. You just stop being constantly available. By sometimes replying late or even being unreachable for a little while, you are basically manufacturing your own scarcity. So when you do give them your time, it feels way more valuable, and it makes them want to seek it out even more.
Okay, now for a more subconscious technique, subtle mirroring and breaking. Now, mirroring, copying someone's gestures or their tone of voice, is a pretty well-known way to build rapport. It subconsciously makes people feel like you're on the same wavelength.
But here's the twist. After you've built up that subconscious connection, you suddenly just stop. You break the mirror. This creates this tiny, almost unnoticeable glitch in how they perceive you. And their brain, on a subconscious level, goes into overdrive trying to figure out what just changed. That mental energy can very quickly turn into fascination and attraction.
So, we've covered the foundations. Now we're going to move into the more advanced tactics. This next set of protocols shifts from just building a presence to directly manipulating someone's emotions and memory.
And this brings us to the emotional roller coaster. The goal here is pretty intense. It's to create these massive emotional swings. One moment, you make them feel like they're the absolute center of the universe. The next, you create a sudden, sharp distance. This triggers a powerful sense of loss and a craving to get that emotional high back from you.
Now, this slide does a great job of showing the difference between that first trick and this one. Intermittent reinforcement, the slot machine effect, that targets the brain's reward system with unpredictable attention. The emotional roller coaster is way more direct. It targets their core emotional state with unpredictable moods, basically wiring their brain to become addicted to you for emotional stability.
Have you ever watched a TV show that ended on a huge cliffhanger and found you just couldn't stop thinking about it? Well, that's the Zeigarnik effect. It's this cognitive bias where our brains are literally hardwired to remember unfinished things far more than completed ones. They live rent-free in our heads.
So the key is to basically weaponize this. Start telling a really interesting story, get to the best part, and then just leave it hanging with a simple, you know what, I'll tell you the rest later. Their brain's need for closure will keep you right at the front of their mind until they can hear the end of that story.
Number 6 is the mystery veil. Look, humans are curious. It's in our nature. When we can't fully understand something or someone, our minds just go into overdrive trying to piece the puzzle together. Mystery is, in and of itself, really attractive.
This means you never lay all your cards on the table. You reveal parts of yourself slowly, piece by piece. By always keeping some part of your story, your past, or even just your thoughts under wraps, you become this enduring puzzle that they just feel compelled to solve.
And that brings us to the final protocol. The source material is really clear about building this one up, claiming it's the most dangerous and the least discussed of them all.
This last section is all about what the source calls the apex protocol, the anchor of emotion.
So emotional anchoring is a technique that's actually borrowed from neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. And the core idea is to create a powerful subconscious link between a very specific physical sensation and a peak emotional state.
Here's how it's done, in 3 steps. First, you wait for a moment of peak positive emotion. I'm talking pure joy or just uncontrollable laughter. Second, right at that peak, you apply a specific and unique touch, let's say a light tap on their shoulder. Third, you repeat that exact same touch later on. Their brain, having anchored that touch to that amazing feeling, will automatically re-trigger that state of joy and link it subconsciously to you.
So there you have it. That's the full system, just as it's laid out in the source material. From the addictive pull of intermittent reinforcement to the subtle power of an emotional anchor, each one of these protocols builds on the last, creating this whole framework for manufacturing a deep, consuming attraction.
The techniques we've just explored today really do provide a blueprint for manufacturing obsession. But it leaves us with a really critical question to think about. When you have the tools to systematically influence another person's deepest feelings, what's the true cost? Not just for them, but for you too.